A 43-year-old Cuban immigrant died in ICE custody on Tuesday at a private detention facility in Louisiana. Roylan Hernández Diáz died at the Richwood Correctional Center in the northern part of the state. Immigration and Customs Enforcement began using the facility to detain immigrants earlier this year. CBS News immigration reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez joins me now from Washington. Camilo, thanks so much for being with us. What can you tell us about the investigation into Hernández Diáz's death at this point?
All right, thanks for having me, Elaine. So after a few hours when we reported the story, ICE confirmed that this 43-year-old immigrant from Cuba was found unresponsive in his cell yesterday afternoon, and emergency personnel were unable to revive him, and they are investigating this incident as an apparent suicide. What we know is that he actually was encountered near the El Paso sector of the U.S.-Mexico border in May, was transferred from Border Patrol to ICE, where he was ultimately sent to this detention facility in northern Louisiana, where he died yesterday.
Well, earlier this month, Camilo, an immigrant from Cameroon passed away at an ICE facility in San Diego. How is ICE responding to these two deaths?
Right. So ICE actually sent us a statement, and I want to read it to you, Elaine. So fatalities in ICE custody, according to ICE, are statistically exceedingly rare and occur at a fraction of the rate of the U.S. detained population as a whole. And an ICE spokesperson also told me that they are very concerned about the health and well-being of the people they are detaining. But advocates point to the fact that this is the second death just this month, Elaine, of someone in ICE custody. Last fiscal year, there were 8 deaths, but there's already been 2 this month, and this fiscal year just started on October 1st. So that's what concerns advocates, and they also point to the fact that many of these people, like Hernández Diáz, we have no evidence that he had a criminal record other than his immigration violation, should not be detained for such long periods of time if they're not a threat to public safety. They should be released with a notice to appear in court and be allowed to continue their immigration court proceedings outside of detention.
Well, the Associated Press reported last week that Louisiana now has 8 prisons housing detained immigrants. What do we know, Camilo, about the conditions at facilities like Richwood, where Hernández Diáz died?
Right. Under the Trump administration, Elaine, Louisiana has become really a hub for the detention of immigrants. And why? Because it is close to the countries where the government wants to deport these people, right? Cuba, Central America. It is easier for the government to flight these people in charter planes and deport them to their home countries in Louisiana. The conditions have always been denounced by advocates. I actually spoke to 2 people who are currently detained at the same facility where Hernández Diáz died, and they complained of prolonged detention and mistreatment. But I think the biggest criticism that both people who are detained and the advocates trying to help them is that these secluded facilities in rural parts of Louisiana, which is obviously a very rural state, are very far away from both family members and lawyers and advocates who are trying to help these detained immigrants.
Well, as House Democrats pursue an impeachment inquiry into President Trump, the topic of immigration has received less national coverage. How is the government currently handling the number of immigrants in detention centers?
So, for example, ICE, the agency that had the custody of Hernández Diáz, is detaining more than 50,000 immigrants at this point, according to the latest figures they have released. So that is a lot of people for them to house. And like I said earlier, advocates and Democrats do not believe they need to be detaining the majority of the people they are currently detaining. They think that because they are also detaining people who are simply seeking asylum but have an immigration violation, like crossing the border illegally or trying to cross a second time, but they believe those people are better off in communities, maybe with ankle bracelets or in programs where they are connected with lawyers so to ensure that they show up to court. But the administration believes that if they do that, right, if they release them, they will send a message to would-be migrants in these countries that once you get here, cross the border illegally, you will be released and that there won't be any quote-unquote consequences. So that's always been a main sticking point, and that's why Democrats are very hesitant to approve more funds to ICE, because what ICE does with those funds is increase bed capacity in these detention centers.
All right, we know you'll continue to watch it. Camilo Montoya-Galvez in Washington for us. Camilo, thank you.
Thank you so much, Elaine.